Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Napoleon, and today we're back with another Enlisted video, and today we're going to be talking about a potential Cold War tech tree. For disclaimers, this is not a tech tree that Enlisted has made. Heck, it's not a tech tree that anyone has made except for myself. This is my proposal of a tech tree that Enlisted should do for essentially the USSR during the Cold War. So without further ado, this is my proposed tech tree for the USSR, and of course we already have a USSR, so it's going to be from tier 6 to tiers 10. So without further ado, let's just get started. Of course, this video has been made possible for the friends at Discord. If you haven't subscribed or joined Discord, highly suggest that you do. With that said, let's get started. For the USSR, one of the main strong selling points is the fact that they have good tanks, well, a lot of good tanks, and you have a lot of additions such as the AK-47 series, not to mention their excellent machine guns, but their fighters are either lacking or not the best out of the realm, and they do not have that much variety in terms of, well, let's just say small arms. For example, starting at tier 6, we have the AK-47, and that is paired with the SKS-45. This is the SKS that has been exported to every single country, and at tier 7, that turns into the SVD or the AKMS, essentially an AKM, and that is, well, essentially a folding stock. The same can be said for the AK-74 and the AK-74U, except for the AK-74U is just a smaller copy of the AK-74. And of course, I'm generalizing here because, well, I'm a tank expert and not an infantry expert. And of course, moving on, we also do have another AK-47, and we do have an AKM with a GP-25 grenade launcher. This is essentially a grenade launcher on an AKM. And of course, at tier 10, we have the AK-103. Technically, this was made in the 2000s, and it shouldn't be anywhere close to the Cold War. I put this mainly here because Enlisted actually has this in-game, so that's that. That with the AKM is also pretty much in-game. In terms of LMGs, we get the RPK with 75 rounds, RPD with 100 rounds, and PKM with 100 rounds at those tiers respectively. For the equipment, we really maxed them out with anti-tank rockets. They're not the best in the world, but they're also not the worst in the world, such as the RPG-2, the RPG-7, and we have the Malyushka, which is essentially a controlled anti-tank guided missile, and it's actually pretty good for taking out tanks at a distance, most notably used by the Egyptians against the Israelis during the Yom Kippur War, so that's pretty interesting to note. Moving on, we do have some anti-air weapons such as the Strela 3 and Strela 2. This is technically supposed to be mounted on a vehicle, but technically you can also mount it on hand, although I haven't seen one yet mounted via hand. And of course, moving on, we have the Fagot, which is an anti-tank weapon that is essentially like a Malyushka but deadlier, and the Igla, which is a portable surface-to-air missile, so that's great, and it actually is portable this time, I think. In terms of the tanks, once again, I said the Soviets do have pretty good tanks. These come with the PT-76 with a BTR-152, which is an APC. Moving on, we have the T-55s, T-54s, and the BTR-60. Once again, the BTR-60 is an APC, and of course the T-62s and T-64s, of which I think the T-64 is better in almost every regard, and of course the BMP-1. The BMP-1 essentially is acting like an APC, and this is the BMP that has a Malyushka on top. Moving on, we have the T-72 and the ZSU Shilka. These are essentially a very good main battle tank, and a Shilka that is pretty good at taking out almost every plane. And at the top tier, we have the T-80. I'm not going to give the Soviets the T-90, and the BTR-80 and the BMP-2, of which the BTR-80 is the APC, whereas the BMP-2 is essentially the, well, IFV, so that's that. And in terms of aviation, the Soviets start with the MiG-15 and MiG-17, all pretty decent planes in terms of maneuverability, but the cannons may be hard to use judging from my War Thunder experience. The MiG-19 is essentially that, except for a better MiG-17, and of course you have the Mi-4. This is the first Soviet helicopter, and essentially what I imagine these to be is essentially a portable and mobile APC that can essentially fly, and of course if you want to, you can use your missiles. And of course at tier 8 we have the MiG-21, pretty famous jet, and of course at tier 9 we have the MiG-27 and the Mi-24, which is a pretty good ground attack aircraft, and of course a helicopter. And of course at tier 10 we have the Su-25, which was pretty famous during the war in Afghanistan, and the Su-27, of which it's still famous right now, so what are we talking about? Of course, this is a very generalized version of the tech tree, and I do think this is going to be a very quick video because I do not want to bore you with every single detail of the weapons, so that's that. In my personal opinion, this list does need to be revised, but at the same time, I would like to hear your guys' suggestions. As you guys can see, tier 5s and tier 6 should be their own separate tier, which is probably not going to happen considering what Enlisted is trying to do right now, and that is the fact that Enlisted is trying to put what War Thunder does with their tech tree and then merge tier 5s and tier 6 together, which is not a good idea. My idea of a USSR tech tree and any Cold War tech tree is that tiers 5 and tier 6 should be separated. As a matter of fact, tiers 1 through 5 and tiers 6 to 10 should be separated. So that's that. That is my personal opinion, how you should do every single tech tree that is in the Cold War. So without further ado, that's all it for this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join the Discord, and I'll see you in the next one.